Well, everybody, we are back here. There you can see our guest owner, Rob. I'm over here on camera one, and we're starting the second interview with these gentlemen. And this show might fall into the category, my dad would say, might double your knowledge today. I mean, there's literally so much that information coming out here. We always do, I said always, for the last 6 months, going forward, so always from now, whatever. We do two shows, two interviews. I feel like when gentlemen, professionals, ladies, professionals come in the studio, they got more to share than you cover 10 or 15 minutes, half hour. And we got into it. I've got a list of questions. We only got halfway through. We didn't quite get halfway through. And we hit on a key point that I like to talk about. And the mistake people making that are making a purchase in this industry. And we're going to talk about that. But before we do that, we'll show you on the wall behind me. Take a look. I'll put the cameras on these gentlemen, but you can see the walls a little bit there. Your Little Castle, sponsored by Carroll House Furniture, because you like nice things in your little castle. I saw Brooke the other night, last night actually, and I talked to him. I said, Brooke, by the way, we got our cool intro now. I say, you like nice things in your little castle. So thank you there. And then with that, we also talk about, we love the support we get from USA Mortgage. I am a licensed loan officer, and boy, teamed up with such a powerful company that does so much in our little planet, in our little world. We love talking about that. So with that, let's jump in. You started on a question I asked you that was, what is the big mistake? And I don't remember the answer because I cut you off. I said, hey man, hold that because this is going to be good for the seconds. Don't want you to give the 15-second answer. I want you to give us the 2-minute answer. And with that, what is a big mistake people make? And you were talking about house flipping, I guess is what
yes,
kind of the category there. Talk a little bit more for me on that, Rob, because I know that is something that is a big industry right now and something that we need to make sure people don't get taken for.
Well, on one specific house, a good friend of mine bought it as a flip. He wanted to just throw a roof on it and sell it, okay? I advised against it. Said, I'm not hiring you for that. I'm hiring you for what I'm asking you to do. Put this roof on. A couple weeks later, inspector comes out when the rest of the house was finished. Wouldn't pass inspection because they were all sister trusses. They were just stick-built trusses, and they weren't right. They weren't up to code. Whole roof had to be torn off. Brand new roof, by the way. It's less than a week old. Had to tear it off, replace all the trusses, and replace the roof again. So it's not always good to just try and Band-Aid things without getting full-on inspections and city code and things done, because you paid for 2 roofs in a matter of 2.5 weeks.
Wow. Okay. As somebody, I'll share another historical story. This will make some people laugh. But I'm one of those guys that likes to innovate and create, from wherever I've got to go. I had a little house where I grew up down in Fenton. A lot of people know I grew up in Fenton. Straight out of Fenton. And that's a fun reference we got there from back in the day, right? But I decided that this atrium I had in the front room allowed me access to go into the part of over the rest of the house. There's 3 bedrooms that had the trusses all above it.
Yep.
And it was a flat, it didn't have the, what do you call it, vaulted ceiling. And so I cut into it. I put a little ladder up to the area where that kind of took over, and the wall was down. You go in there, and then I removed a couple trusses because I could. Not that I should. And then I decided to sell my house. So I decided, I don't know, at some point the inspection thing came through, and they're like, you need to have a repair, an authorized repair on those trusses. How many people go in and do these little jobs or don't understand the damage?
Yep.
Like you talked about the trusses that they had there. People understand the trusses are the supports underneath inside of the roof that are like all the triangles that you have, because you got this roof that you don't want to collapse.
Yep.
And if you don't have a strong truss, it's all about the trust we have in people, right? But the truss, SS. These are important elements that people don't understand. Why is that so important?
It's structural integrity of your home.
Right.
You start messing with those things, you don't want your whole ceiling to collapse, but it also has to do with the squareness of your rooms. You don't want your square to turn into a diamond on you. Big things that your trusses, if they move, it's moving the whole structural of your home other than your foundation.
Nick, how often you run into customers that are going, hey man, just fix this thing? And then they got a lot of questions because they're going, why do I have to get that? And why do you recommend it?
Oh, every
Cutting
time.
corners thing versus doing it right.
Oh, every time. I mean, there always customers are asking questions that they think they know a lot about. Then we get in there and find so many different things that we didn't even know what was going on until you get in. You know.
Right, and
All the time.
that causes big problems for
Oh, yeah.
the long term. And what the house again? We talked about that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
That leads into the other point. Which I wanted to go back to this, and if you heard us talk about this on the first half of the show, or if you're getting one of the clips, we give everybody, all our guests, cuts of the whole interview, cut up in clips, and sometimes that's the segment you happen to watch. Maybe you got this one, but it was an introduction. I thought, I was like, wait a minute, I've never heard that before either. I've done a lot of work in the roofing. I did work for a roofing company for a short time. My buddy, come on, dude, cowboy, everybody knows who you are. Yeah, it was fun because I knocked on doors like, oh, it's Cardinal Cowboys at my door. But I'm like, how did you know? Anyway, but you get in this industry, it gets a little tricky because and I had not heard of any other manufacturers. I should assume there's not just the big three that most people have heard of, but there's got their pluses and things and differences, and they got with all of those. But you brought up the Malarkey, so we're going to pull them out. I'll put them up on the wall, everybody. Talk a little bit about why Malarkey is such a reputable company and what the benefit you have from using their shingles.
Again, one of the biggest things is that every line of shingle they have is a Class 3 impact resistant or higher. So they got Class 3 and Class 4 impact resistance. They're polymer-based shingles, which means they got rubberized shingle in the granulars. It causes things like hail or tree branches, debris to bounce off of your roof rather than it actually take the impact and lose granulars. That polymer base just helps keep your roof from getting any blemishes or any damage from falling objects. Again, with that, it helps with your insurance premium, getting the deductible or your premium reduced and discounted for having an impact resistant on there.
Okay, something you mentioned to me was the fact that I know the typical warranty that is offered by the manufacturers out there is somewhere between 25 and 30, I guess, on the high end. But you're saying they offer 50?
It's 50-year shingles.
And explain how they can do that. And I guess it's part of what you're talking about.
Again, with the polymer base on the shingle and rubberizing it, it keeps things from destroying the granulars and the integrity of the shingle whenever things hit or bounce off of your roof.
Okay. And what you also mentioned something, and Nick, you talked about, I think you might have been the one who brought this up. We have our pregame show in the bullpen, in the green room, whatever you want to call that. Sometimes right here in the studio, we do have a bullpen literally labeled here in the building. But they use sustainable, as a matter of recycling.
Yes.
They're making they're using materials that are recycled. That helps our world, and it ends up being a better quality product too.
Yeah, obviously global warming's huge right now. So our part as a company, we want to be as green as we can as well. So these shingles we use are made out of plastic water bottles and tires. Obviously those things in a landfill, they're just going to be sitting there. They can't biodegrade. So they reuse them and build shingles out of them, and that's kind of our part as a company to be green.
And I'll put it on the wall again for everybody there. Here's their website: upcycled rubber, recycled plastic, planted trees. So if you care a little bit about that part of our little environment here in the world that we live in, it's nice to see that there are companies that actually address that.
It's one of the greenest asphalt shingles you can get on the planet.
And so when it comes
and
down
highest quality, so that's kind of the main thing.
It's a win-win.
Yep.
Okay. Well, another key thing. So when we get into this discussion, sometimes I learn every time I bring a guest on. It doesn't matter what we're talking about. That leads me to the next little point we had here. I'm kind of going off script, but we both worked in the world where we're really trying to inform people. It's sales world, whatever you want to call that. And it seems like most people do understand it. It's good to have a sharp, informed salesperson, somebody, a guy, a gal who really knows what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're really doing when you're helping somebody with something they need to purchase, you're not trying to sell them something. The guys that are trying to sell something, they're pulling the wool over, right? There's something there that they're not giving you full disclosure on. But if you're really helping somebody, this is where I'll turn it over. I'm going to practice what I preach. What are you really doing? You're listening to them. You're allowing them to speak so they can answer. You can answer their questions, right?
Absolutely. The two biggest things we do as a company is we educate and we inform. We educate the homeowner on the process, the issues at hand, and inform them of their options and ways to alleviate their issues. It's a big thing with our company is we don't try to sell as much as we do educate and inform our customers and our homeowners.
Key, Rob,
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff. Nick, tell me why did that fall into your category? Why you guys like that practice?
Because kind of like he touched on, I mean, we're there to solve the homeowner's problems. We're not there to upsell them or sell them things they don't need. Whenever they call a roofer out, they're calling a roofer out to inspect and see what caused damage to their home. So that's what we're there for, to answer their questions and go over all their options.
Yeah. So, well, with that, tell me a time you guys, another story. You've got a few, I know, where you saw a situation, somebody needed some help, and you said, "Let me make sure you understand what's going on here," and you really had the opportunity to educate and to help them when you could tell they were just confused and probably were vulnerable at that time, and you got to help somebody.
Yeah, one of the big customers we had was a fellow who had a tree fall on his home. And it wasn't just a little tree. It took out half of his roof. He had no idea what to do. He was just trying to get someone to kind of mitigate the issue while he figured out what the heck was going on. So we went out and tarped his roof, walked him through the process, got his insurance adjusters out there. He thought that insurance was on his team. A lot of people have that mistake, thinking that their agents are their friends and think that what they say is law. The insurance companies are there to mitigate their loss. So just because they say that they're going to approve something, they're going to go with bottom dollar up front. And a lot of homeowners think that that's just said and done. They don't realize that you can have a contractor go in and what's called a supplement, or which is a fight with insurance, showing them the line items they missed, the pricing they missed, and the reasons why code, et cetera, are there and need to be added to that claim to make sure that you're actually getting what you're paying your premium for, which is to make it back to where it was before damage was caused. A lot of people just think that, oh, I got a check, let me just go ahead and take what insurance said and go with it. A lot of times insurance is going to lowball you, and that's where you run into those contractors that go for low-hanging fruit, just try to get the deal, put on cheap product, and get out of there.
Yeah, we talked about those, and I won't. We never name any of such businesses because they're not usually in business long enough to name.
True.
But we had a great interview with Coach House Garages, and they do the exterior, external, separate houses. I think the garages can be attached, etc. But it was great. The president was here, and he talked about it, Mr. Otto, and he said, one along those lines, one thing to be concerned with is you have what's called a tail light warranty. And that is, the warranty is as good as long as you can still see their tail lights. And how often are you going to, you're literally, I'm saving some money because I got somebody here who I don't know much about them. They came and knocked on my door. Presentation was informative enough to, but you got to dig in further to find out what they're really talking about, because what happens when you have a problem kind of thing, right?
Right.
What do you do after that? And that's where you need somebody who's done this for a long time, knows the ins and outs, understands the problems, and it can inform them so that they don't get the cheapest way of getting it done, because in long term that really doesn't help them.
Absolutely not. It does not help. Short term, it might save their pocketbook right then and there, but 9 out of 10 times you're going to have a bigger problem. It causes a bigger issue than what was even there to begin with, because of the shoddy patchwork jobs that I see day in, day out. They end up having to spend 2 or 3 times more. Homeowners are upset. They're like, well, I just paid this much. And it's like, well, I'm not going to discount you because you went with someone else that messed up your house. So I don't. It's better to do it right the first time rather than doing it 3 times to get it to where it needs to be.
There it is again, ladies. I have my pencil sitting here, ladies and gentlemen. About 15 different times these guys said things that you were noteworthy that I would recommend you write down. But I just realized I can have a pen sitting right here, a pencil. And I take note, ladies and gentlemen. That was a really important one, because if you're going to get something fixed, why would you do it halfway or cutting corners again? Because that's when you can really get stung, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
When you've got a replacement that's going in and you've got the funds as part of something you're rehabbing, that's one thing. But when you've had damage come in, what part of the damage is getting fixed? What are we not going to fix?
Yeah.
What are we trying to save money on? And then have had a little bit of discussion in the past, and tell me if this is how much this applies. They say, I want to fix this, but I don't want to fix that. Well, what are they really opening themselves up to? Because the next time there's a storm, insurance company says, you didn't get that fixed. This is a separate claim. You want to go back and make a separate claim for them, go back and get them to do it. And now you got to fight with them, and maybe it's not going to end up covered. Get it back to your point. Get it done right the first time.
Even more so than that, I mean, we all have dealt with COVID and everything since then. The cost of living has gone up immensely since 2020, 2021. It's not going down anytime soon. So if you want to sit here and do this part, not do this part, you want to wait a year or two, at the rate it's going, you're going to be spending 10, 15, 20% more than you would have if you would have taken care of it the first time. So That's
Right.
that's a big one right now is inflation of everything.
Nick, how often do you run into this?
Oh, a lot, all the time, all the time with customers.
And tell me how you deal with it.
As far as which side?
Well, and if you've got somebody saying, "Hey, man, I just want to get this thing as cheap as I can," and do you help? Obviously, you guys.
The issue with that, I mean, you can always go with somebody cheaper, but we're talking about roofing. These things, we're talking about 30, 40, 50 years. It's your home. You may be able to get it done cheaper for now. 5, 6 years down the line, whenever you have another issue, that company may not be around anymore. Whereas you're dealing with somebody that uses the higher end product, like us, we're going to be around long enough to take care of those future end problems as well for you.
Back to the whole, just do it right the first time.
Yes.
And don't try to cut corners. I'm getting the pencil out again. Take note on that one, ladies and gentlemen. And it's just like a theme for life. I mean, how many times? And I'm guilty. It was one thing I'm guilty of, and that's probably doing too much. And that's just because I'm.
No doubt.
My parents were drilled into me. You do it because they're teachers. Does that make sense? That's why I have a pencil here. Educators, college admissions counselor, my dad. My sister's a teacher too. And I feel so fortunate because those are the kind of guidelines I have. So many people that I see, they didn't have 2 teachers. I'm sorry. That's just the way the world works out. But take note of it from the teachers. I've been fortunate. And the experts in the industries that have a similar strategy that is, do these things. I'm grabbing my pencil because I'm going, come on, guys. We are trying to help you with the longevity. This impacts people's lives.
Yes.
Because when you have a house that's dysfunctional and problems and it's decreased in value and something that you could have some inheritance or some equity in, and you're cutting corners again, come on, man. I hate to use that quote, but I mean, come on. I mean, literally, I'm not trying to steal anybody's thunder, but I mean, literally, it's a matter of that is something that ends up being such a critical element that most people are looking at it from a short term, not the long term.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Home's your biggest investment.
Okay, that's what we talked about. Tell me, guys, a little bit then. What is the process? Somebody says, "Man, Triple R, these guys know their stuff. I'm ready to do business with them." What do you recommend is the easiest way for them to start to work with you guys?
They can either call us on the office line. They can go to our website and fill out a submission slip where we have a calendar on our website where they can book their own inspections, and it'll block off that time frame for them. It makes it simple. We get a lot of customers that either want to be super involved or don't ever meet us. We got both extremes, and either you can call us and get personal and speak to us on the phone, or you can schedule an inspection where you don't even have to be home to deal with it. We send pictures via email or text. You know exactly what's going on, price, and you don't even have to meet us if you don't want to. So we got best of both worlds for the introverts and extroverts out there. You can see us as little or as much as you want through the process.
Great point. I see the scheduling component there. I'll put it back up on the screen. I showed everybody this, but right here they can literally select the times. You'll have somebody that probably is available depending on when it is.
Yep.
If not, find the time slot that is.
Yep.
When somebody's available, and then they can come in and you can come. And I don't know. I guess there are some people who like, I just trust you. I know who you are. Go look at the roof. Bring your ladder. If the neighbor's asking any questions, tell them I said it was okay, and get this done because people are busy.
I have a handful of customers that I've done between 3 and 6 different jobs, different roofs for, and I've never met them in person. Some of my best clients, repeat customers, are people I have never met.
Well, that just points to the fact that you must obviously have a good reputation where
Absolutely.
people are going, come on out, I'm not even going to be there, I trust you. But that's where I'm going to put it back on the wall here for everybody. If you're going to do something, you might as well do it right. And there it is, everybody. Take a look on the wall. This is RRR, Rob's Repair and Replacement Roofing. And you're doing a lot of construction nowadays too. And
Yep.
great work that you do on all of that. But lots of good information here. As you can see, our local, OUR, localroofers.com. Easy to remember, everybody. Their Facebook is linked. You can see they're based here out of our community right here in St. Louis. And you can even see a lot of their work that they've got available, so you can see some pictures right here on their website. And you can click on one of these images. And a bunch more information available if somebody wants to look on your Facebook. I'll switch to TV wall number 1. There it is. And we've got 2 TV walls here, everybody. It's all about who built the TV walls, right? And so we've got a lot of good information here. But I noticed the reviews here. We talked a little bit about that, and you've got a ton of people that have said nice things about you, but also some of those pictures that you can get into. And when you've got evidence and proof of the work that you've done here, there it is. And see, yeah, all information anybody can imagine. That's why we want people to get to know the guests that are on our show, because we're always looking to highlight those. We do, first time I've mentioned this, we're up to now, we're doing 3 shows a week. We're targeting 5 shows a week that we're going to do on ABC. And even if we maxed out every show, we're not doing these short clips where you get 3 minutes and 5 minutes. Periodically, if there's something, kind of a special little thing, we'll throw that in. But we like to stick to a 15 or 30-minute format so that you really get to know who you're talking to. With that then, and it's almost like 90% of these are, at least 90% are the half hour. And we'll stick with that. But that means there's only enough room to have 5 times 50, if you want to round down to 50 weeks a year, give us 2 weeks off. We don't take any weeks off. We'll have shows anyway. There's only going to be 250 guests on our show. So we want to highlight only the top 250 businesses each year or so that we can. Maybe have a couple of squeeze in with the charity in there, whatever. We got a bunch of stuff. But let us know who those people are, and we love to highlight. And thanks you guys for taking the time here again. So Rob, as we got a few minutes left here, tell me about the history of this company and where you plan to take this.
So I started this company again since I have half a dozen children these days. I couldn't keep traveling and leaving my family behind. It got really crappy leaving my family for 6 to 8 months at a time out of town, working different storms. I decided to kind of put my fate in my own hands, and where I could be home every night with my kids rather than being gone half the year at a time. It's had its difficulties, obviously, with having 6 kids as a single dad. Kiddos come with me quite often. But the good thing is that for whatever reason, the stigma of being a sales guy somewhere, bringing your kids, people look down on. But once you're an owner, everyone thinks you're a great dad because you have your kids there. It's literally the same thing. So it's helped out being able to make my own schedule, make sure I have time for each and every one of my kids while still being able to provide for all of them. So it's been a fun roller coaster. We've all enjoyed it.
And life is the roller coaster that we all have to endure and learn from. And I just think I'm at the point now where it's like, I don't care what hurdle you throw at me. I've been through a coma. That's about as bad as it gets, I think, for most people. Hopefully, it's
no doubt.
And once I overcame that, that's why I'm trying to encourage people. You can accomplish, you can conquer anything. You're just willing to put the time in. So when you have a hurdle, it's just like, cool. Here's another thing I get to fix.
Yeah.
Here's another thing I get to learn from and prove that I can do something. And hurdles are not as disheartening as some people may seem. With that, I ask you, Nick, what's it like working with your nephew and then be able to have a company that you enjoy?
Well, that's one of the reasons I kind of stepped into this as well. With him having half a dozen kids, he obviously needs some time with them. Owning a roofing company and any company really, he's got to put a lot of his time towards that. And that's where I came in and are able to take more of the day-to-day, be the face at some of these job sites where he can actually spend some time with his kids, So that's where I step in. He has more time to himself and his kids.
Well, that's another point I'll hit on there. We always come up with new stuff. I can't remember ever talking about. I've started my own little show here, if you will. My own caveat for my own business. And so I'm going to I always share a little bit first. And then once you've shared, then other people might be more willing to share. We're talking on a show here. We expect they're going to share, but I like to just kind of give, here's kind of an example. Tell me if this makes sense. But it's hard for a business owner who's got his heart, blood, sweat, and tears in this thing to go, how do I give up a little bit? And you got to fight. So you go, somebody you know you can trust.
Super tough.
What was it like?
It was super tough.
Perfect, but you got to grow.
You got to trust. You got to have trust and faith in someone whenever you put so much time and like you said, blood, sweat, and tears into something. I grew this company by myself. It was real hard to find the perfect person to take 3 of my 12 hats. So I'm from 12 down to 9 hats, threw 3 to him, and having him as a family member, it was a lot easier to trust him, and I know where to find him. So it's a never-ending circle. I'm just glad that I have someone that has my back and my kids and the rest of my family's back, and is close and tight knit. It's hard to find someone that you can bring into your personal life as well as your work life, and have it seamless without having issues. So I am blessed in that way that I have someone as my right-hand man to help me out in that way.
There you go, Nick. Lots of kudos.
Same thing towards them, though. I mean, very blessed to be working for him, put it that way.
Well, that's cool. And that's what we'd like to talk about. When you've got a team, you got people that you work and trust, even when I worked at Anheuser-Busch, you really we had our own department, right?
Yeah,
And you get
absolutely.
to know these people, and that's what you're looking for. You never get to know somebody as well as you do family. It seems like 'cause
Exactly.
there's another
Yeah.
little thing you can hold over their head. Hey, we're related. We got to keep the family name going here.
No doubt.
So it's great seeing you guys put the effort and putting it all on the table there
Yep.
for everybody to see. So with that, tell me though, what is one challenge you guys have been through already that you'd say, oh man, that's something we learned a lot from, or something you had to step in and fix something? Can you give me an example? Of something like
Growing pains, man. Again, you gotta in this industry and anything, you gotta put out to receive. Nothing's coming. You're not gonna have everything pop up out of nowhere. You gotta literally spend time and spend money to make it. So a big thing that we learned is investing in the right revenues for ourselves to make them the most profitable and have the biggest turnaround on those things. And again, putting in the labor and putting in the work ourselves has really helped us on understanding every aspect of the business. People think a roofing company is just about roofs. My man, that is not the case.
right?
Marketing, SEO, accounting, you name it. You got to do it all rather than just hammer nails and shingles. That's the easy part for me. It's
Right.
the everything else, time management, making sure we're able to again help out the community in different ways, as well as doing roofs. So it's just been a great experience and a non-ending learning process that I don't think I'll ever stop learning in this industry. So
Such as life.
Yes.
Nick, you agree with that?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Great stuff. All right, we got a couple more things. We got more questions to ask here, and we've only got a couple of minutes left. But tell me a major objection you deal with when somebody says, "Okay, I think I need this, but," and then you have to answer them and say, "Hey, here's why you need to do this the right way."
again, a major part of our company is those insurance claims, where you got to file insurance claim, prep homeowner on how it's going to go. I'm not going to mention any specific insurance companies, but a lot of these insurance companies are deny first. Whether you have damage or not, they deny just to see if they can get away and get you to give up. And a big thing that we have to overcome is letting homeowners know before insurance comes out that there's a possibility that even though they have damage, that it's going to get denied. And we prep homeowners on that. And that's just a big objection is homeowners think, well, you told me that this thing had damage and my insurance is telling me it doesn't. One of the biggest objections is that they think that the adjuster that comes out from their insurance is going to tell them the truth and be honest. And they take their insurance's word over ours. So you got to build a lot of rapport and trust before we even get insurance out to the house so they understand what's going on.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, with that, we're already up to and close to the end of our time. We want to give a shout out to our guests here, Rob and Nick Evans. Thanks, guys. Stay tuned for more. This is the